In today's video, we're going to be having a conversation about booster box prices officially all being above $100 and what this is going to mean for the future of Pokemon. Now, before we jump into it, as always, I do weekly giveaways. All you have to do to enter is leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can, of course, comment and like on each video, so that allows you for multiple entries. But besides that, I also wanted to make another statement. I made a video about a week and a half ago because I was on a business trip, so I haven't posted videos in the past couple of, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. And one of the videos that I made was in response to a Twitter post that you guys were wanting me to have a conversation about. Now, the individual, when I made the video, I did not know who the overall individual was who had made the post. People were speculating on the intentionality of that individual. I told everyone to take everything we all say with a grain of salt, but also not to be mean, not to be nasty, and make sure that if you are looking into this individual, that you're not immediately going into it with negative intentions, assuming the worst of this person, right? Well, what ended up happening is people did exactly just that, and the individual actually reached out to me. Little did I know that he was actually someone who I'm quite friendly with, did not realize that it was the same Twitter account that he ran, and he messaged me and basically was like, hey dude, what's up? I thought you knew I was credible, all these things, blah, 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 blah. Point I'm trying to make with this is, first and foremost, I want to come out and make an apology because I'm so sorry, obviously, in terms of, the natural response that you've been having to the backlash of people going after you for no reason. I tried making it very clear I didn't want that to be an issue. It's one of those things where I try my best to make sure that we're, creating a healthy environment of discussion when it comes to the way in which, things go around the Pokemon sphere. It is obviously also my fault as well because I had absolutely no idea that your accounts were not tied together. If I did, I would have made sure to clear things up a little bit sooner. And so I'm going to be doing that right now, letting everyone know that this individual, I won't name his name, but he's actually very trustworthy. I've used him before for some of my sources on things. And so I want people to know that Pokemon Deals, that's the official name of the Twitter, when it comes to their general sources, it is something that they are very much so vetted, and it's not something that they have any sort of intentionality to push an agenda. It's just whatever is for the betterment of the community, and they're just making it known based on the sources of information that they have acquired. They've used me as sources of information before in the past, and so they're not the type of channel that's just flip-floppy when it comes to the reports that they make. They make it with the credible sources that they have, so on and so forth. Not to mention with that, the individual doesn't make any money off of this whatsoever. He's just doing it purely based on trying to get a following to help, of course, grow the general Pokemon community and help people get the best deals as possible. So please, please, please understand that these things should not be confused. Hopefully this should quash any sort of sentiment that a lot of people have in regards to that. But obviously, I'm saying my apologies in this regard and hoping that you guys now know going forward, there should not be a questioning of the overall intentions behind the sources that he posted. Now, you can disagree with the sources, obviously, like myself, right? I necessarily am still under the assumption that reprints are more than likely going to happen at some point, but that's a matter of opinion. And right now, everything's very much speculation, and that shouldn't call for attacking someone's character ever. That should never be something that should be discussed. But I wanted to make that post and just talk about this first thing as soon as I got done from my business trip. And so I'm doing that right now, hoping that I can make amends for the confusion that was made. You would think that I would be smart enough to realize that when a Twitter has the exact same logo as the individual's logo for the Discord channel they run, I would know that it was the same person, but I was silly enough to not recognize that, and that is fully on me, fully my part. But what's the deal with Pokemon booster boxes? Now, I don't want today to be a full-on discussion about reprints. This has just been something we've been talking about forever at this point. Like I mentioned in the last couple of videos, take everything we discuss with a grain of salt. This is the reality of the situation. The only thing we all know is that everyone has their own different opinions, their own different sources. Who knows what's going to happen? So let's just have a conversation about booster boxes as a whole and what this is going to mean. First and foremost, when taking a look at it, we now have seen Battle Styles booster boxes break above $100, and more than just break above $100. They're now at almost $110 per booster box. After that, you've got Astral Radiance at $117, and then after that, it's very much every booster box is above $130. So what's officially happened, guys, booster box prices are no longer sub 100. It sucks. It's the reality we live in. We have absolutely no understanding of how this is going to play in with reprints. But what we do know is this. Evolving Skies, as it stands, I don't expect it to stop going up until we have some sort of catalyst that changes that. And you understand what I mean by catalyst. It's just going to keep going up. The demand for the booster box is extremely high. Yes, it may find a kind of stagnation point where it's going to go sideways, but more than likely, it's just going to keep going up. As I've mentioned many times before in my other videos, you know my opinions on jumping in on this. I think it's very FOMO-inducing, and I'm not someone that's trying to create that general sentiment. I'm always about patience and making sure that when it comes to your decision-making, it's always based on rationality and not on emotions. And so you should know my general sentiment overall when it comes to jumping in on these booster boxes. But taking my sentiment out of the equation, what is kind of the future going to be in store for outside of just Evolving Skies and all these other booster boxes? And we'll just take, like I said before, reprints out of the mix and say, let's say reprints are done. Sword and Shield era, it happens. What really is the truth of it all? How is this ultimately going to play into the Scarlet and Violet era? Now, if you guys don't know, there was a post that was made by by Pokemon. They announced that if they were to have reprints for Sword and Shield era product, they would make sure that it was going to be reprinted at the previous wholesale price. That was on average anywhere between $84 to $88, depending upon distributors. Now, the new wholesale price is around $95 between to $100 and $101 for the new wholesale. So basically it jumped up like 10, 12 bucks in terms of what the new wholesale price is. So it's no longer a conversation of the Pokemon company is not reprinting all this product because they're waiting to adjust to the market so that they can reprice the general wholesale that they're going to sell the reprinted product for to distributors and then retailers. It's no longer a conversation to be had. That's something they've obviously been transparent about. Now, does that necessarily mean that the Pokemon company can't change their mind on things? Of course, the Pokemon company can do whatever they want, and they're known for being very flip-floppy at times. So, but just based on what they've said, the expectation is this is not playing a factor whatsoever on quote-unquote delayed reprints if they indeed are going to be coming, which, presumably I would like to think they are. Looking at Scarlet and Violet booster boxes on presale, obviously we're looking at TCG Player. There's other sites that are selling it for cheaper, but they're pre-selling for $130 right now on Scarlet or on TCG Player's website. Now let's take a look and click on it a little bit closer. $130 is indeed the lowest price sold. We did have some market manipulation where someone listed it for $11.83. This is a scam. Do not fall for this. Obviously, when you click on it, you're like, well, it says 83 is the market average when you click on it for market price. Nope, that's not it. Someone just really tried once again manipulating the market price to bring it down, but it was still at that $130 to $132 price point. And this is indicative of where the market is as a whole. So when talking about the speculation of reprints, ultimately, there's always been a lot of, floating rumors as to why, but it's almost as if the Pokemon company is trying to have a newfound market on what the new pricing is going to look like. And obviously you're going to have places like Safari Zone and Game Nerds where they're going to list booster boxes for around that 105, 110, which for most new online retailers, that's thin margins to losing money, but they have discounted pricing because they've been around for a while and they can buy in volume. So it's something where they're typically going to be more competitive and they're able to offer lower prices. But once those have kind of been bought up, as we've seen some of them have been bought up quite quickly, you see prices for Scarlet and Violet just climb because, 105, 110 for a new set with silver borders with a lot of excitement around it versus older sets that are already $10, $20 more. it makes it so that naturally the demand is being driven towards Scarlet and Violet base set compared to these other sets, especially considering the price point. This is going to reflect the general pricing in the future. We have absolutely no clue, but if we're going to speculate and say that it's an entire possibility that this is it for, Sword and Shield era reprints, you could totally see that be the general future. One thing I do find very interesting, however, is Crown Zenith, right? And this goes back to a later point that I made on the last video where I said, what's the Pokemon company been doing for the past, year and a half, right? We have our speculation and we're asking ourselves the question, okay, well, if reprints are coming, what have they been kind of printing, right? Well, playing into that, Crown Zenith, we've just got reports, and from the information that I've also seen from Distro, we have no sort of information of any ETB reprints coming in the near future, no sort of information of another wave of ETBs coming. Does that mean that's not potentially going to happen in the future? Of course, that can totally happen. But as it stands right now, we saw the price on pre-sale for these ETBs go from around $40-ish to $45, and now they skyrocketed up to $60. Might not feel like a skyrocket, but from a percentage perspective, that's about a 33% price increase. That's quite a bit in the span of a week after release. So, Crown Zenith prices are just going up. Obviously, there's going to be more Crown Zenith product that's going to continuously be released in waves. That's going to help suppress the price of the general singles. But overall sealed product and ETBs, expectation is they're probably going to go up. Scarlet and Violet, we're just now starting to get numbers from certain distributors. Some distributors have once again shown indications that it doesn't look like things are changing in a whole lot when it comes to the amount of print with Scarlet and Violet. One of my distributors in particular actually gave us less than what we would usually see booster box allocation numbers. Now, this individual distributor is kind of like how do I want to say this? They do their own thing in how they structure it, and there's so many different factors to what kind of pushes you to give a certain amount of supply. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, because there's always so many moving factors. But considering our general overall spend has actually gone up over the past 3 months since opening our game store and not down, and we're getting allocated less, that is definitely not a good sign. Now, does this once again mean that this is going to be the same for the rest of the distributors when I start to get numbers for that? Of course not. This is one particular distributor that just so happened to have already given out allocation numbers ahead of everyone else. And so let's not all panic and FOMO and say everything's going out of stock, blah, blah, blah. But what this is, at least, in my opinion, looking at it from this perspective, saying is there is sort of, once again, going back to the question of, okay, well, hypothetically speaking, if this is some sort of foreshadowing for the future in terms of supply for Scarlet and Violet base, and we're once again not going to be getting a ton of print, this will be the, 5th set in a row now where we haven't seen a ton of print for a new booster box set or just, specialty ETB set. I mean, Lost Origin had its one initial wave. Silver Tempest had its one initial wave. Crown Zenith ETBs had their one initial wave. One initial wave for now Scarlet and Violet base from what it seems to be. So still think there's some things going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it feels as if the current older Sword and Shield era booster boxes, or just Sword and Shield era booster boxes in general, are really playing into the adjusting of what is the new inflation. And with the overall supply also playing into that as well, you can see the prices continue to go up because, once again, there's not a ton of supply that seems to be floating around actively that we know of at this moment in time. The demand for this product is still relatively high, and it's something where it's, the newest set that everyone's hyped about for a cheaper price than some of these older Sword and Shield era sets for a more expensive price. It once again leans towards people going that direction. So we have no clue how this is going to change in case we see something happen. Like, for example, if you guys didn't already know, and some people, you can see this as a big deal or not, but they announced that the newest set after base set for Scarlet and Violet is actually not going to be coming out till end of June. this is something that would usually come out end of May. So it's actually going to be coming out a month later. Now, this is entirely possible based on the fact that if you look at when the set of Brilliant Star came out compared to Fusion Strike came out in November. Brilliant Star came out end of February. We're going to see Scarlet and Violet base set come out end of March. So it's almost like there's a natural shift in new releases by a month. So I don't think it to be that big of a deal. But hypothetically speaking, why is there this natural shift by a month? Is that because we're extending the overall standard playability within the set because, it was supposed to go out of rotation in August, and instead it pushed us all the way till, the start of Scarlet and Violet. If you guys don't know what I mean by that, Pokemon Company historically has typically only reprinted product within standard rotation because they care more about the competitive player base, and it just makes sense for them to do it that way. And if that's something that they're prolonging, are they looking at it in regards to they're just prolonging it from the perspective of the player base, but not the reprint aspect? You know what I mean? There's so many kind of questions that are still being had behind why all of a sudden this, set that was supposed to come out in February, which is what Scarlet and Violet was supposed to be. It was supposed to be the end of February. It got pushed back to March. And now the second set for Scarlet and Violet is announced to now come in June. So it's a new shifting month. What's with all these delays, man? You're getting consistent delays, consistent lack of product, just so much going on. And so ultimately at the end of the day, the general theme of this video, although I know everyone wants me to give my forehead, crystal ball mindset of, yes, I can predict the future, because that's one of the things a lot of people like to get from content creators, if I'm being completely honest. And what this really does mean for the future of Pokemon, it means that we, at the end of the day, are seeing that the Pokemon Company is doing something completely unprecedented that we've never seen before. And I can sit here and tell you guys that I think that, the switch to silver borders is making a difference. And in terms of the overall delays to the pandemic and supply chain issues that we had over the past couple of years could play a factor. But ultimately, the Pokemon Company is definitely doing something historic when it comes to changing the way in which they do things, where typically you would see reprints come out sometime at the end of the year, 2021, 2020, didn't see it happen 2022, haven't seen it. And so at this point, it's very much just questions all around what's the conversation ultimately going to be, other than prices are just going to keep going up until we hear further news. And that's kind of the future on what I think is going to happen unless we see those reprints come. And I know people are going to hate that I'm going to say that, and I'm not saying that to make people FOMO in, especially if you're someone that's a collector that wants to get in before the chance is too late. But at the end of the day, if there isn't any coming, and we don't know, like I said before, take everything everyone says with a grain of salt. Please don't take everything I say out of context, because some people like to do that for their own arguments. But if we don't get any reprints, then based on general supply and demand economic theory, no more supply is coming. Supply will just continue to dwindle, and demand will more or less just continue to stay the same or go up, depending upon the emotions behind the market and the driving force in which people are going to be spending their dollars towards. So I know it's not the answer everyone wanted. Everyone wanted the answer to be, yeah, things are going to go sideways or down, or we're going to get reprints or whatever. But like I said, obviously I brought up reprints in this video because it's hard not to have a conversation about that based off of the discussion we've been having the past couple weeks. But I didn't want it to be the main center point. I wanted it to be something that really just, hey guys, prepare for the future of a possibility where it doesn't end up happening, and make adjustments to the changes that the Pokemon Company could potentially be doing. Prepare for the worst, but hope for the best when it comes to what the future of the overall Pokemon market is going to look like. I think that the Pokemon Company, however, has, to try to give a little bit of hopium. They've always been very much so, hey, we're going to print to demand. And so far, as it stands right now, it doesn't seem like they're doing that. So I definitely am optimistic that this is something that's going to be temporary. But at the end of the day, we're here with it, guys. Battle Styles is 110. All these other booster boxes are, 120, 130. And they're just going to keep going up until things change. So, yeah, but that's it for today's video, guys. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I will be back now that I'm finally back off my business trip to our regular schedule. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is when we post our videos. Tuesday, Thursday live streams at 12:30 Pacific Standard Time. So you can expect me to be live tomorrow for our regular stream. But if you want to enter to our weekly giveaways, leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. But that is all for today's video. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Until then, I will see you all on Thursday. Peace.